Hey everyone, it's me, the scientist, and this is my good buddy, the philosopher.
Hi, how are you doing?
Alright, well, the philosopher and I thought up a pretty cool experiment. Well, keep in mind, this just came up off the top of our heads, so if it sounds harsh, that's because, well, we just
It's
came up with
in beta.
It's in beta, yes. Alright, well, so basically, the idea goes like this. If determinism is true, and determinism is the idea that all events are predicted, that the universe is determined by physical laws, then our actions should also be determined by laws. So, the point is, can responsibility still be attributed to a person in that kind of universe? Like, if someone committed a crime, could we still say he was responsible for that crime? Now, there are many views on this, and some of them say, even in such a universe, responsibility can be attributed. And other views say, no, because his actions are already completely determined, we can't blame him for taking the actions that he was forced to take. Now, the philosopher and I are here to provide a new take on this by doing what we call a thought experiment. Now, a thought experiment is a hypothetical situation in which we discuss what some of the nuances of the situation are. So let's have the philosopher elaborate a bit.
Right, in this experiment, let's say there is a man, and this man is approaching a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're gonna ignore the quantum mechanical effects of uncertainty and say that even though this man has raped a woman before, you can't be sure. Please, just stop touching the table, please. You cannot be sure with 100% certainty that he is going to rape the woman again that he's approaching. So, it's up to one of us, whoever's going to be the devil's advocate in this experiment, to determine whether or not that man should be punished for something that he's never done.
Yes, I agree. Now, if determinism is true, it doesn't seem like he should be punished. But, on the other hand, if he chooses to rape the woman, he should be punished. But the point is, he hasn't done it yet. All you see is him walking towards a woman, looking kind of threatening. Now, the question the philosopher and I, the scientist, are trying to discuss here is whether or not we should punish him before he's actually committed any act. So, my intuition, first of all, says yes, he should be punished. But only after he's committed the act. Before he commits the act, you should watch him, make sure he doesn't do anything, but he doesn't deserve to be punished for that. Would you say that your intuition agrees with that, philosopher?
If you know that he's done it before, even if there's no 100% certainty, you should take the steps to prevent him from doing anything. Even if it's a 99.9999999% chance that he's gonna do it, you should still take precautions and stop him before he does anything else, because, the chance is too great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with that. I agree that you should take every precaution. But my point is, intuitively, I don't think many of us would agree that it's right to punish him before he actually does anything. And basically, I don't think most of us would agree intuitively that this is right. If you're pretty certain that he's about to do something, even if it's 99.99% certainty, sure, you should survey him, take precautions. Like my good friend the philosopher said, you should take precautions. But should he be punished? My intuition says no. What about your intuition?
My intuition says no, not until he's done something.
Alright, so we both agree on this. Is this the end of the thought experiment? I think not, though. As many people know, intuition is notoriously unreliable at times. Because, well, we evolved in an environment where the biggest goal was A, escape the tiger, and B, have sex. And our intuitions developed for that sort of environment. So while we're great at modeling situations where we want to know, is the tiger still chasing me, or should I have sex with this person? Our intuition is great at determining stuff like that, although some people who are having dating troubles might disagree with the last part. But the point is, our intuitions are only usable in a limited array of situations. And in a futuristic situation like this, where we're talking about near 100% certainty and actions being determined beforehand by predictions, this is stuff that we didn't evolve to deal with. So my intuition says this guy shouldn't be punished until he actually does something. And my friend, the philosopher, also has that intuition. So does this end the experiment? No, because intuition doesn't count as argument. Intuition doesn't. So even though we have an idea about what the right answer might be, we should still consider things from all points of view. But that's hard to do. Wouldn't you agree, philosopher? Just considering things from all points of view?
We need factual evidence.
Yes, and for that, we need something called the devil's advocate. Would you care to elaborate?
The devil's advocate is a person who argues on behalf of the perpetrator or person who is at fault in any given circumstance. In this case, the rapist.
Think of the devil's advocate as, say...
like a defense attorney.
The defense attorney, yes. So, the devil's advocate here would be the one who argues that the perpetrator should not be punished. And in this case, let's have the philosopher be the one who argues that he shouldn't be punished, according to the intuition.
Right.
And I will be the one who plays devil's advocate and goes against that. Because otherwise it's hard to tell things from certain points of view unless you actually have someone actively arguing for that scenario. I don't intuitively agree with it, but for the sake of experiment, let's say I do. Alright, let's begin. So, philosopher, would you care to elaborate on your intuitions?
My intuition says that in a universe where quantum mechanics, even though it's very, very minuscule, has a very, very small effect on whether or not this person is going to do something or not, I still think that in a universe where quantum mechanics plays a role, that, no, this person should not be punished if they have not done anything.
Alright, well, so let's say you have seen the person rape the girl. Should he be punished then?
What do you mean by have seen the person rape the girl?
Well, let's say you're in a situation where the person has finished raping the girl and you just arrived. Do you agree that he should be punished then, since he's done something?
Just because he's done something in the past doesn't necessarily mean he's going to repeat it in the future.
Well, yes, but you just saw him rape somebody. Do you punish him for that?
I punish him if he's done something.
Okay, so if he's just raped somebody, you punish him.
Of course, because he's done something.
Alright. Well, let's go back. Go back in time to before he raped someone. Let's say that you knew somehow with 99.99% certainty. Alright, that's not even close to quantum certainty. But let's say you have a predictor machine that gives that much certainty somehow. And it scans this guy's brain, and it tells you that he is 99.99% certain to rape somebody. Now, as the devil's advocate here, I'd have to argue that it'd be okay to punish him even though he hasn't actually done anything, just from the certainty. I don't intuitively agree with this, keep in mind. But since I'm arguing this, would you agree that he should be punished in this situation?
Well, it depends on what standpoint you're coming from. If you're coming from a legal standpoint, then yes, you can legally arrest him for attempt or at least
Intent
to rape. But from an intuitive standpoint, you could arrest him as well. But if this universe in which this scenario is played out in has no legal basis, then no, there is no reason to arrest him besides your own intuition. But then again, since you're not 100% certain that he's going to do it, then you really have no, decision for that.
Alright, so the philosopher says that beforehand, even if you have 99.99% certainty, you're not allowed to take him and punish him. Keep in mind that we're ignoring legal aspects here, so we're not going to consider things like intent to rape. Okay, Well, let's fast forward several minutes. You see the guy start to walk towards his potential target, and he has this look on his face that sets off alarm bells ringing in your mind, and you can tell that this isn't a good thing. Now, your predictor machine already gave you a 99.99% probability of him going to rape someone. And now you see evidence that he's about to do something. He's walking towards the girl. The girl hasn't noticed him yet, but you see him walking towards the girl. So this naturally bumps your expectation of him being about to rape someone even higher. Do you think he should be punished?
No, not because he hasn't done anything yet.
But you're reasonably certain that he's about to, right?
Reasonably, but not certainly.
Not certainly. So, how high of a threshold are we talking here? How certain do you have to be? Do you have to be 100% certain?
Yes, but this is a universe where quantum mechanics still plays a role, so you cannot be 100% certain.
So are you saying... Well, so let me get this straight. You're saying that you have to be 100% certain in order to be able to actually arrest someone and punish them.
Yes, because there is still, even though it's very, very small and insignificant, there's still the chance that he will not rape the woman.
Alright, well, philosopher, help me out a bit. I'm a bit confused. You just said that this is a universe where there's quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics implies the uncertainty principle, where you can never be 100% certain of anything. And you just acknowledged that, right?
Right.
So, if you're saying that you need 100% certainty to convict, it seems like we wouldn't be able to convict anyone in this universe at all, since quantum mechanics always prevents there from being 100% certainty.
We can as soon as they do something, but if this man has not done anything up to that point, then there's no reason, beyond reasonable doubt, to arrest him.
Alright, well, let's continue the hypothetical. Fast forward several seconds. He's approaching the girl still, and the girl has noticed him now, and you can tell that something's up. This pushes your probability already high from the predictor machine, pushed even higher from what you saw earlier, now pushed even higher from what you're seeing happening right now. Your probability is close to 100%. It's not, though, but it's close. You're nearly certain that's going to happen. Do you stop him? Do you punish him?
No, I cannot punish him because he has not done anything wrong. He's just walking. For all we know, he could just be walking up to the girl to shake her hand.
Alright. Let's say we fast forward another half second. He's in front of her now, and he's not doing anything like shaking her. Let's say he's reaching out to grab her. And she, let's say her body language, her expression, you can easily tell that she does not want this, and she doesn't even know him. Now, this pushes your already super high certainty even higher. Not to 100%, because like you said, that's impossible. But super high. Do you punish him?
No, because he has not done anything.
So, how high does it have to be? Alright. He's forcibly undressing her at this point. Now, keep in mind, this could be considered intent to rape or attempt to rape by legal definitions. But since we're talking purely hypothetical here, let's not consider the law for a second. Going off of pure intuition, he's undressing her right now, if he hasn't done anything to her yet. Just undressing her. Do you punish him?
Not for rape.
Do you punish him for something else?
Well, he's undressing her. That's sexual assault.
Alright.
Then you're forced to, because he actually did something.
Well, I mean, ignoring legal definitions, like I said.
Well, it's not a legal definition, it's just what he's actually doing. He's sexually assaulting that woman.
Well, you don't know it's sexual assault. Like, he could be...
In what case does a random person go up to someone else and say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm just gonna undress you, okay?"
Well, possibly the woman is pathologically insane and would actually consent to that. You don't know.
But still, he's doing
That's
something,
not
and you still said that the look in her face said or implied that she did not want that.
Yes,
so by
but
that
that's not
definition-
100% certainty, right?
But you can see it in her face that she does not like that.
Well,
No.
what if you're misinterpreting your face?
It's only probabilistic before he actually does anything. But now he's doing something, and you can see the look in her face. Now you know that she actually does not want that. Like, for example, right now, I know for a fact that I'm talking in front of you. This is not probabilistic because it's actually happening. It was probabilistic before I said that, but you know, now that I've actually said it, we know for certain that I did that. And now that we know for certain that he went up to that girl and sexually assaulted her, then we know for certain that he's done something wrong.
Alright then. So, let's remove the rape entirely. If undressing her is sufficient enough of a crime to punish him, then let's remove the rape entirely. Let's just say he's undressing her. Well, so, before, when we were a couple seconds earlier, when he was just reaching out to undress her, you said that he shouldn't be punished because he hasn't actually done anything. Now that he's actually started to undress her, only a few seconds later, you say that he should be punished. So clearly something changed in between point A and point B, in which suddenly it went from not okay to punish him to yes, it is okay to punish him. Would you agree with this?
Yes, and that tipping point was him actually doing something physical to her.
Alright. Well, let's fast forward back, like, maybe we'll be between point A and point B still. He hasn't undressed her yet, but, like, he has his hands on her clothes, and it's pretty obvious that he's about to undress her.
That's still sexual assault.
Alright, so,
'Cause he's touching
let's call this point in time point C. So, something changed between point A and point C, in other words, that made it okay to punish him as opposed to before, right?
Yeah, and that was him touching her.
Alright, fast forward back a tiny bit from point C. We'll call this point B, like point D, that is. Let's say only a few milliseconds back. His fingers are reaching out. They haven't quite made contact with her clothes yet, though. Punish or no?
He hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't even touched her, so you can't consider that sexual assault. Not by a legal term, just by common sense.
But is it obvious that he's about to assault her?
Yeah, but you cannot do anything unless he's done something. I'm just speaking from morality here, not intuition.
Alright. Well, it's pretty obvious that he's about to do something, right? You know almost certainly that if you wait and do nothing, something's about to happen, right?
Right.
So for morality, you ought to do something right now to prevent anything from happening in the future. You can't say, well, he hasn't done anything yet, if it's damn obvious that he's about to do something. Morality also dictates that you should go, he hasn't done anything yet, but it's pretty darn obvious, so I should do something here. That's morality also says that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So
It works both ways.
you should say, even though your certainty here isn't 100%, it's so damn close that it doesn't really matter, and you should stop him.
No, because he hasn't done anything.
So you shouldn't do anything. You should wait for the rape to actually happen.
I should wait for initial contact, then I should do something. But then and only then do I do something. Do I step in. Until he's actually touched her, done something wrong, not from a legal basis, from common sense, do I punish him.
Alright. So what philosopher is saying here is that what matters is the act itself and not the circumstances leading up to the act.
Right.
Right. Alright. Well, I can respect that, but I have to play devil's advocate here, so let's see what argument I can come up with to counter that. Alright. Let's say that your predictor machine has 100% certainty, alright? 100% certainty minus certain quantum effects. So you point it at that guy right at the beginning, before anything happens, and it returns either yes or no. So,
Minus the quantum effects.
Minus the quantum effects, yes. But other than the quantum effects, it's 100% certainty. So 100% minus whatever tiny changes quantum effects introduce. So it returns either yes or no. You point it at this guy and it says yes. Do you take preemptive action right now, even though he hasn't technically done anything?
My answer is still no because of the quantum effects.
Because of the quantum effects. Alright. Well, let's say a different situation in which you just saw the guy finish raping someone. According to you, philosopher, you would punish him if you saw that.
Right.
Well, there's quantum effects, though. What if you hallucinated everything because the atoms in your brain spontaneously rearranged because of quantum effects? Would you punish him even with that tiny possibility?
No. Because he hasn't done anything.
Well, this is true. Well, quantum effects are always there, so you can never rule out the possibility that you hallucinated it. So are you saying that people should never be punished for rape, even just because there's a tiny quantum chance that the atoms in your brain spontaneously rearranged to form that sort of hallucination?
Right. Unless he's done something, you shouldn't punish him.
Would you agree that there's always a slight chance that the atoms of your brain rearrange to hallucinate something?
Yeah.
So are you saying that a rapist should never be punished?
A rapist should be punished if he rapes.
Yes, but if you see him rape, there's always a chance that you hallucinated that, no matter how tiny, right?
Yeah,
So that's not 100% certainty.
but still, you know what happens if you can stop it. If it's a hallucination, then...
Well, I mean, it's possible that you hallucinated the rape scene, but the guy actually exists. So you can still interact with him. He just didn't actually rape somebody. The rape part you hallucinated.
Well, if it's a hallucination, then no, it didn't happen. I can't punish him.
Well, but from your perspective, you don't know if it's a hallucination or not. And from anyone's perspective, they can see someone rape someone 7 times in front of them, and they can't be sure if that's not a hallucination or not. Most people would say under conventional morality that it's okay to arrest him under those circumstances, right?
Let me ask you something. What would you do, scientist?
That's a good question. I would probably arrest him, because even with the tiny quantum effects, the tiny probability that any stuff is happening, I hallucinated it, the photons that came into my retina randomly burst into existence out of the vacuum due to quantum uncertainty, even taking those effects into account, I don't think that those effects are big enough to make much of a difference. So I would never have 100% certainty that somebody raped someone else, but I would arrest him and punish him anyways, because for me that certainty would be high enough.
High enough, but not exactly...
Well, yes, but high enough to punish him.
So you're basing your penal system off uncertainty, really. Even in a trillion universes where only one of them was the case, you're just basing it off that. That's kind of corrupt, don't you think? You're not serving real justice.
Well, think about it this way. Using your trillion universe example, if I punish him, I'd be punishing almost a trillion rapists. I'd be punishing that amount minus 1. I'd be punishing like 999 trillion, billion trillion, 999,000 trillion, 999, and so on and so forth. And I'd only unjustly punish one innocent person. That's a ratio. That's a huge ratio. That's a trillion guilty versus 1 innocent. I'm sure you agree that our current police system does worse than that, a lot worse. Now, what happens if I refuse to punish him due to that tiny lingering uncertainty? Well, what I get is a trillion guilty people minus 1 get to go free, and I happen to arrest one. I happen to let 1 innocent person go free. Okay, well, an innocent person isn't incarcerated, but in a trillion minus 1 other universes, I just let a rapist go free. I much prefer the idea of a trillion potential rapists being locked up along with 1 innocent person versus the idea of 1 innocent person going free, but along with him in a trillion other universes, rapists going free.
Well, you cannot affect those other trillion universes. You can only affect.
Well, no, but I don't know which universe I'm in. I could be in that 1 out of a trillion universe where I happen to hallucinate everything, or I could be in one of the other universes. Either way, I should make the decision whether independently of which universe I'm in, because I don't know which universe I'm in. It's possible, though unlikely, that I'll put away an innocent person, but it's far more likely that I'll help the world by putting away a rapist.
But still, you cannot be certain until he's done something.
Yes, but 1 innocent life in exchange for a trillion rapists being locked away is better to me than a trillion rapists going free in whatever worlds they happen to be in versus 1 innocent person not being locked away.
You locking 1 innocent person away is going to have as much as effect as a gnat running into a boulder, honestly, because you cannot affect those other universes. Whatever happens in those universes happens in those universes, but you, and only you, can affect the one that you are in.
Yeah, and with the one that I'm in, I'll lock the person away.
If they've done something. But if they haven't done anything, and they just decide to walk away, then you leave that innocent man free.
If I happen to be in that 1 universe where they're innocent, then I'd be committing something wrong by putting that person in prison. But I don't know which universe I live in advance. So given the priors, given my probabilities, I'd say there's a pretty good chance that I'm putting away a rapist. I'm not... Even without knowing which universe I'm living in, I should put away that person just because I'm probably living in one of those universes where the rape actually did occur. And here's the thing. If there's a copy of me in every one of these universes that's simultaneously making the decision, I should act as if I'm deciding for all of them, not just me. Because these people are all me, so they should all theoretically act the exact same way I would. So I would literally, with my choice, be choosing to put a trillion rapists away and one unfortunate innocent. Versus, if I chose not to, I can reasonably expect my counterparts who behave exactly as I do to not let theirs go. And the end result is a trillion -1 worlds where the outlook is worse because there's one more rapist out there, versus just one world where the outlook is slightly better, as opposed to the other way around.
Regardless of what universe you're in, you should not punish him until he's done something, no matter how high the stakes.
And why is that?
Because why would you imprison an innocent man?
To imprison a trillion rapists along with him.
Well, whatever happens in those universes happens in those universes.
Well, yes, but the person... Let's say these universes are all identical except for maybe he's innocent. So, you're the one making the decision in all of those universes. They might not be the same you, but they're identical copies of you. Now, if they're identical to you, would you agree that they would behave the same way, make the same choices that you would?
Minus the probabilistic effects, no.
You believe that these people identical to you would behave differently from you?
In some minor ways, yeah.
Would you agree that they would differ from you in such a major way that they would choose to put a person away versus not?
No.
No. So in other words, out of those trillion universes, nearly all of the copies of you in those worlds are going to choose to either put the person away or not put him away, right?
Right.
Well, if you, personally, in your own little universe, choose not to put him away, there's a reasonably good chance that those other copies of you being identical are going to make the same choice. So, what you'll end up with is if you're lucky enough to be in that one universe where the guy is innocent, you do the right thing by letting him go. But then there's a trillion copies of you who, by all odds, probably made the same choice that you did, and let a trillion rapists go.
Well, you're assuming that my action affects the actions of...
No, I'm not saying it does. But I'm saying if every other copy of you is identical, then you don't really know which copy you are. You should assume that you're deciding for each and every one of them, because you don't know which copy you are, and you should assume that they all act identically, because they are identical.
But you can't know. You can't assume that with 100% certainty. Just like you can't assume that person's going to do something, you can't assume that every other copy of you in those trillion universes are going to act and choose the same thing that you did.
Alright. Well, let's say I accept that. So basically you're saying that no one should ever be arrested for rape.
Not if they haven't done anything, no.
And since there's no way to know if they actually did do anything versus if you hallucinated anything, no one should be arrested. Period. Because there's no way to know.
You should know whether or not you hallucinate something.
Well, no, there have been realistic hallucinations. And remember, we're taking into account tiny possibilities. There's a tiny probability that the atoms in your eyeballs spontaneously rearrange the way they would if you had just seen someone get raped. And then they would send the same signals to your brain that they would if they just seen someone get raped. There's always a tiny possibility that you wouldn't be able to tell. And since, according to you, if that tiny possibility exists at all, so what you're saying is no one should get arrested for anything.
Not if they haven't done anything, no.
And since there's no way of knowing that they haven't done anything, you shouldn't arrest them.
Not if they haven't done anything, no.
So you shouldn't arrest anyone.
Not if they haven't done anything, no.
Alright. So give me a situation where someone can be arrested.
If they've done something.
Yeah, but how? Give me a situation where you, in your own subjective experience, you just saw them do something. Give me one of those situations where you feel entitled to arrest someone.
If I and many other people have witnessed that person do something.
Well, there's always the possibility of a quantum event scrambling all the atoms in your brains for a mass hallucination.
Well, you're assuming that happens all the time.
No, I'm not. I'm assuming that out of a trillion universes, it happens maybe once. But according to you, it's better to let, whatever guy in your universe go. Because tiny chance that he might be innocent.
I still think that you shouldn't incarcerate someone for something they haven't done.
Well, yes.
Even if it's very likely that you could hallucinate. Even though
So
it's very
basically
likely.
you're saying that no one should get arrested for anything.
If
Because
they
you
haven't
can never have 100% certainty.
If they haven't done anything, no.
Well, yes. So, is there a situation where you can arrest somebody?
Yes, if they have done something.
Well, yeah, but how would you ever know that?
You just know it.
You just know it. How do you know you haven't hallucinated?
You would know if you hallucinated or not.
Why would you know?
Because once you come out of said hallucination, you would realize that that person either has or has not done something.
Well,
You wouldn't stay in a hallucination for the rest of your life.
You could. The chances of that happening would be tiny, but that's the whole point. Tiny probabilities. For you, the philosopher, that's your opinion. For me, I don't have that problem because I say, I don't care that there might be one innocent person. I'll arrest him anyways just because the probability is so high. So I won't go around in fear that I'm living in a hallucination because I'll say the chances that I am living in a hallucination might exist, but they're too tiny to even think about. But my good friend, philosopher, you, according to your beliefs, according to your system, you seem to think that no matter how tiny the chance, it'd be okay to not arrest someone as long as there's this tiny chance that they're innocent. I don't have that problem because once my chance gets high enough above this certain critical threshold, I'll say, that's it, arrest them. But you'll say, not if they haven't done anything. And you've repeated that a bunch of times. So, and since there's no way to know with 100% certainty, not if they haven't done anything, no one should be arrested under your own worldview.
Well, put yourself in the said rapist's point of view. Would you want to be...
If I was a
incarcerated?
rapist, I probably wouldn't want to get arrested, period, whether it was right or not. But assuming for some reason that I happen to be a rapist who cared about what is right and wrong...
Well, what if you're not a rapist?
If I'm not a rapist, then obviously I don't want to get arrested.
Well then?
And if I am a rapist, I probably don't want to get arrested either. But that doesn't change the fact that I deserve it.
The point still goes. If you're more likely to, not want to do it, especially if you're innocent.
Well...
I mean, of course, rapists don't come to terms with...
Alright,
going to
let's
prison.
just say I somehow came to terms with it as the rapist, alright? So I agree that I deserve to be arrested if I rape somebody. In a trillion worlds, in one of them I'd say, no, I am innocent, no. In the rest of them, I would go, I guess you're right, I really do deserve it. The rapist in our scenario doesn't do that, but let's just say I did. In nearly all of those universes, you would see me go, I guess I deserve it. In one of those universes, you'd go, no, I never raped someone, never. And then you would know who to let go and who to put away. And it'd be right from the rapist's point of view too, because he or she agrees. But if you don't know that information, I say it's still right to put him away.
You're just basing that off, if they agree, they say, okay, let's go to jail. But no, if it's an innocent person, they haven't done anything, then no, they shouldn't go to prison.
Well, yes, but you don't know if they're innocent. And the odds are highly likely that they aren't innocent.
First you said that you know whether they're innocent or not. You know whether...
Well, no, I said that you knew with a probability of nearly 100% minus quantum effects. And you said that these tiny quantum effects are enough to say, no, you shouldn't arrest them.
If they haven't done anything, no.
I don't agree with that. I don't think tiny quantum uncertainties are enough to say that person didn't actually rape someone, or, well, I don't know if that person has raped someone, so I don't think quantum effects are enough for that. So I would arrest him anyways, even though that uncertainty is there. It's tiny. And if you were put in that situation, you would end up letting a trillion minus one rapists go and one person go free. I would end up locking up one person, but also locking up a trillion rapists.
Well, that's only if said circumstance exists.
Well, yes, but I mean, this is a hypothetical. And if the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is true, this circumstance might come up all the time, and the police just don't realize it. In a trillion worlds, Osama bin Laden was killed unjustly. Would you agree with that?
No, because there's proof that he's done something wrong.
What if we all hallucinated that proof?
Well, then you couldn't arrest him.
Well, there's a chance, tiny quantum effects, we maybe all hallucinated that proof. It's way too unlikely in my opinion, so we were right to kill him. But according to you, not if he didn't do anything. You said that multiple times. So what if Osama bin Laden didn't do anything? What if we all hallucinated it?
Then you couldn't arrest him, you couldn't kill him.
So did we kill him unjustly then?
No, because we know that he's done something.
Well, no, we could be in that one world where everyone hallucinated. We could be.
Well, then you couldn't because you don't know.
So in other words, no, since we didn't know what world we were in at the time of the shooting, when the SEAL Team 6 shot Osama bin Laden, they couldn't say, we are in the world where Osama bin Laden is definitively guilty. They could only say, it is highly likely that we are in a world where Osama bin Laden is definitively guilty. So, according to you, if we don't know for sure, we can't, so SEAL Team 6 was wrong to shoot him.
You never know. You cannot.
You never know. So SEAL Team 6 was wrong to shoot him, because they didn't know, and they shot him anyways, right?
There's still a chance, even if it's incredibly tiny.
So, was SEAL Team 6 wrong to shoot him?
You can't know.
Well, no! But SEAL Team 6 made the decision to shoot him. If you were a member of SEAL Team 6, and for some reason you decided whether Osama bin Laden would be shot, according to your philosophy, you'd say, no, don't shoot him, because we can't know if he's innocent or not.
Yeah, if...
You would say that. Well, the real leader of SEAL Team 6 didn't say that, so would you say he was wrong not to say that?
Well, we're speaking of something that happened in our world, not in this hypothetical world.
Well, our world could be the world where Osama bin Laden was innocent.
Could be, but it isn't.
How do you know that?
You can't know for sure.
Well, you can't know that for sure, so you can't get off saying it could be, but it isn't.
It's more likely to talk about it in the hypothetical case where it's actually real.
Well, yes, but what distinguishes the hypothetical from the real? Remember, this is a thought experiment. Thought experiments are designed to show us something about the real world. If a thought experiment has nothing to do with the real world, then there's no point in engaging in it. It's not interesting. It's like me saying, hey, Jacob, what would you do if 3 was potato? Or like saying, hey, Bob, what would you do if 4 was chicken? I mean, that's a hypothetical, right?
Right.
There's no point in engaging in it. But this hypothetical, if Osama bin Laden might have been innocent, according to your definitions and everything, SEAL Team 6 was wrong to shoot him.
Because there's still a small chance that he didn't do it.
So SEAL Team 6 was wrong.
Because there was a small chance that he didn't do it.
Well, okay, I'd like a yes or no answer here. Was SEAL Team 6 wrong?
By that definition, what do you think? It answers itself.
I think so, by your definition. By my definition, I'd say no, they were not wrong. But if we're going by what you're saying here, then yes, they were wrong.
Well, we're speaking hypothetically.
So hypothetically, they were wrong to shoot Osama bin Laden.
Because of that small effect, yeah. You never know.
Alright then. In that case, I honestly have nothing to say to that. So you've gotten an absurd conclusion. Hypothetically, it was wrong to shoot Osama bin Laden.
You're delineating what we were talking about, David. We were talking about...
rapist, yes.
Rapist.
Well, apart from the fact that as far as we know, Osama bin Laden didn't rape anybody, they both committed serious crimes. Osama bin Laden, arguably more serious. So, if SEAL Team 6 was wrong to shoot Osama bin Laden, then you would be wrong to arrest the rapist, no matter what. Just like SEAL Team 6 was wrong to shoot Osama bin Laden, right?
Right.
So, no matter what, we wouldn't be able to arrest any rapists.
Because there's still that small effect that they're innocent.
So the police might as well not exist.
I
Because
guess.
there's...
By that definition, then yeah.
You don't think that's somehow absurd? That's not the way we should work? By conventional morality, remember how we started this experiment? You said that by morality, he shouldn't be punished until he does something. Now you're saying, like, I'm extending your definitions here, but if we extend your definitions to their logical conclusion, no one should be arrested.
Not if they haven't done anything, no.
So, we took your morality and we contradicted it. Your morality says someone should be arrested once they've done anything. Well, now we're just saying no one should ever be arrested. That's a contradiction.
Not if they haven't done anything.
Well, yeah. And there's no useful distinction, because you can never tell if they've done anything or not. So you might as well say don't arrest anyone ever.
If that's the case.
If that's the case. So, do you see, we've just twisted your morality around. We've just said that if you don't want to arrest anyone unless you know for sure they've done something, then you can't arrest anyone at all. Now, on conventional morality, that's wrong. That's pretty much not true, right?
Right.
Conventionally. So, either conventional morality is wrong, or something went wrong and it's hypothetical. Now, seeing how well conventional morality has done in recent times with people obeying the laws of morality, I think it's more reasonable to say that something went wrong in this thought experiment than it is to say, well, conventional morality goes out the window.
Let's ignore legality and morality, and let me ask you, with these quantum effects and these probabilities, you would sentence an innocent man to some sentence. An innocent man. Say that innocent man was you. You would want to be imprisoned under false pretenses.
I probably wouldn't, but I wouldn't deserve to either. But I should be willing to. I wouldn't be willing to because, hey, no one wants to go to prison. But assuming an ideal person who wants to deal with what's right, then yes, that person should be willing to go to prison. If there were a trillion others rapists who would go to prison with him.
If they knew that was the case, but if they didn't know about those other trillion universes, then no, they wouldn't want to go.
Well, the police would still have no way of knowing that he was actually innocent. They'd think that he was guilty. He might protest all he wants, but the evidence would be overwhelming.
But they can never know for sure.
Yeah, they can never know for sure. So even if they happen to be in one of those universes where he was guilty, they could still never know for sure. So they shouldn't arrest the guilty guy either.
Not by that definition, no. Because they can never know if he did it or not.
So guilty guys shouldn't be arrested because...
Well, now you're saying guilty. Why are you labeling them guilty if we can never know if they're guilty or not?
Well, no.
So you're contradicting
your
yourself.
world... No, the thing is... Your beliefs are separate from the world you live in. You believe that you might possibly live in a world where the guy's innocent. Your world is either the world where he's innocent or it's not. You're not sure about whether you live in that world, but the world you actually live in is already set. Your beliefs don't change that. So, you could be living in a world... In fact, you're overwhelmingly likely to be living in a world where the guy did it, but you have no way of modeling that as one of your beliefs. The closest you could get would be to say it's more likely that the guy's guilty than if he isn't. That's the closest you could get. That's the closest your belief could get. But you could be in a world where he actually is guilty objectively, as a matter of fact. But since there's no way of knowing that subjectively, guilty people shouldn't be arrested either. Innocent people shouldn't be arrested, obviously, but neither should guilty people, no matter what world you're in, because your beliefs can never correspond to he is absolutely guilty.
Right.
So even guilty people shouldn't be arrested.
Well, you can't label them guilty because you can never know if they're guilty or not.
Well, okay. Let's say I am
There's no way to solve this problem, scientist. You want to call them guilty, but you can never know if they're guilty or not. That's like saying, okay, your name is Dean, and your name may or may not be Dean, but I'm going to call you Dean. See? Doesn't make any sense.
Here's what I'm trying to say. You're either living in a universe where the rapist is guilty, or where he's not a rapist and he's not guilty. You don't know which universe you're living in, so you shouldn't arrest him. But if you're unlucky enough to be living in a universe where he is guilty, congrats, you just let a guilty person go. Now, this, regardless of whether or not it's moral or not, you just produce bad consequences for the world you lived in if the rapist you let go was actually a rapist and a guilty one. Now, it's possible that you just let an innocent person go, which is a good thing, but this is all about the world itself. According to your beliefs about the world, though, you should never arrest them.
Because you'll never know if they're guilty or not.
Yeah. So, in other words, you'd make a trillion worlds worse if you happen to be in one of those worlds, or you have a 1 in a trillion chance of making that one world better. I don't know, I'd say a trillion worlds are more important than one world.
Well, still, I don't think it's right to arrest someone unless you know whether or not they did something,
So you'd
which you can't know.
So you'd prefer the betterment of one world at the price of making a trillion worlds worse?
If it means doing the right thing, then yeah.
Alright. I think that concludes this thought experiment. So, philosopher and scientist have demonstrated a fundamentally opposing view. What do you think? Let us know. Give us some feedback. Alright. This has been Scientist and Philosopher. And we hope you enjoy a great rest of your day.